My name is Chris Salone. Entertainer Christy Lane arrived in the early 70s to Denver. It was a very inhospitable place. Nobody gave you their real name in the bars because if the police came in and rousted the bars, they could arrest you on a morals charge for just being there. Each of us became our own little island. We had to protect our jobs and our homes and everything about us that we could. As things went along, we started compiling information. A bar on Broadway and a block down a straight bar on Broadway. There were hundreds of jaywalking tickets to the gay boys walking across to the gay bar. Same element down the street, not one jaywalking ticket. When we finally got enough cases backed up that showed that the police department was targeting us, the city council, we went to city council and say, look, we've got a clear case of discrimination because of who we are. So Stonewall happened in '68. They were controlled by their city governments as we were controlled here. And the Stonewall riot was a fight that turned out to be a standoff between the gay community and New York's finest. 7 years later, we are having in Cheeseman Park a gay-in where gay people met to talk about what had happened in New York and said, you know, they have a parade in San Francisco and New York. Why don't we have one here? And I raised my hand and said, well, I'll go down and ask. And I went down and scheduled what was to be a civil rights march, and nowhere on the permit did it say anything about homosexuality. They gave me a date and a contract, and we had to pay $4 and we could march. So somewhere along the line, they figured out what it was going to be, and then we didn't have a permit. I voiced a complaint. I called Channel 9 News and said, you know, they're refusing to give us a parade permit or a permit to march, and we're going to march anyway. The next day, I got a call back from that admin in the governor's office. So the admin said, you'll have a parade permit. There were so many heads bobbing over Sherman and Grant that we couldn't count them. And my best friend at the time turned to me and he says, now I know we're not alone. And tears, really, just tears, because there were more than we can count. And I'm going to fast forward until the 40th anniversary of the Pride Festival in Civic Center. And a gentleman came to my front door to get me. His name was Hickenlooper. And he was my escort for that day because they honored me on stage for getting the first permit. Today you can make history. And sometimes it's just showing up and just being there, because you never know who's going to take your hand or who's going to stand up for you.
Thanks to producer Victoria Valenzuela and photojournalist Brian Winland for bringing that story to us.
It was just what we were talking about with Eventos and Venceros in another area and understanding history, because I think many people look at the Pride Parade now and presume that it was always there or something that was easy to do. And you can clearly now, by understanding how difficult it was to get that started in that time frame, it was a very different time and a very different challenge. And where we are now is partly because of what happened then, the people who stood up.
So far to go, but when you see Denver's Pride Parade and that weekend and the entire month and how this city comes together, it's not like that everywhere. So I think that's a beautiful thing that we should be proud of as a city.